Hello and good morning. Welcome everyone to the training session on the Human Variations web-based PLM portal electronic application form. Our today's session is aimed for applicants that have non-centrally authorized products. So we talk about non-caps, or the emphasis is on non-caps. Here is our agenda for today. So we'll do a very quick introduction on the topics what we will be talking about today. We will also ask you to indicate through Slido which topic or which aspect of the filling in the application form you would like to have a deep dive. So we really want to tailor this training to your needs. So you have an option to do a little vote there to indicate which section do you feel that would definitely benefit from a deep dive emphasis. We, of course, go through a usual training of all the sections as always. Then we will have some time for questions and answers, and we should be finished by 11:30 Central European Time. So as usual, we are using Slido. So this is meant to be a very interactive session, and we of course want to tailor it to meet the requirements and the needs of the participants today. So please feel free to use Slido, give us comments in there, and you can type the questions in there, and you can also upvote questions. Also important to note that we are recording this session, and the recording will be made available on EMA's YouTube channel and the event page. And we're also doing a live broadcast. Here you can see the Slido code. So you can join via the QR code, or you can simply log in into slido.com and include the code that you can see there. And as mentioned before, you can send questions, or you can upvote questions that have already been typed in by another user. And we, of course, when we start with the Q&A, we will start with the questions that have most upvotes. So more votes the question has, we will answer those questions first. And here, as I mentioned, we are doing a little poll today. So this is something a little bit new that we wanted to try. So you have an option to give us your feedback, which section you would like to have a deep dive during today's webinar. Of course, we'll try and look at all the sections, but here you may have a particular interest on a section. And we, of course, want to then show you all the tips and tricks that will help you filling in your application forms most efficiently.
For this, Christina, the poll is open now. It will still be open until we get to the demo part. So even during the first presentation and introduction of Christina, you can keep voting. And then when we get to the demo part, I'll share results so we know where to go and what to concentrate on. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Isabella. And here, just in summary, the aim of this webinar, of course, we'll do a quick reminder on what the PLM portal is and why we're doing it, what has been done so far. We'll look at the known issues, and then, of course, through the live demo, we navigate through the web-based eAF, and we'll talk a little bit about next steps. We can move to the next slide. So here, just to really summarize what the PLM portal is. So it's a web-based version of the European Commission Notice to Applicants Human Variation Application Form. EMA has converted the Notice to Applicants form into an interactive PDF form quite some years ago. So I think we went live in 2011, and we have then subsequently moved to PLM portal web-based form, which benefits from new modern web-based input form for applicants. And of course, it has a human readable PDF output and new machine readable XML for digital processing. So we are using FHIR Data Exchange Standard, which is a kind of like an open standard. In the interactive PDF form, which is kind of outdated now and based on proprietary PDF technology, there is a limited use of structured data. Of course, there already we have attempted to use as much SPORE elements as possible, but now with the PLM Portal web-based form, we are really benefiting and using all the parts of SPORE. So the substances, products, referentials, and organization. So we are using all of this, and it is in an ISO IDMP compliant structured data format. And of course, you really can see also already during the demo that we are moving from this manual, labor-intensive filling in the forms where you have to manually type information that we as an agency and as a network already have. You're simply selecting the products, for example, from PMS, which then enables streamlined and simplified processes. It enables automated data imports, and it really brings us a lot of benefits, and which will benefit and facilitate procedure handling by regulators. But it's also important to notice that what does not change, there is still a PDF output for human readable easy way to look at the forms for the regulators, and of course for you as an applicant, you can quickly check that the PDF contains all the details that you wanted to include in there. The process to submit variation applications within an ECTD package does not change at all. So you will prepare your application form in the PLM portal, and then you will include the application form inside the ECTD. And again, the content of the application form in the submission package doesn't really change. So we are using all the same fields from the NTA form as before, but there is also some additional information included for the regulators where needed. Move to the next slide, and then we quickly look at the implementation key points. So without spending too much time on the history, just a quick reminder, we went live in November 22 with the human caps. And then we have moved already about a year and a half ago to strongly recommended use for human cap variations. We are now currently today in a recommended use for human non-centrally authorized products. And we are not expecting anything major to happen. So we are really hoping that before end of this month, potentially, as you can see on the slide, that it could be around the 29th of September. We are expecting to be able to announce the strongly recommended use for all forms, for all application forms, including the non-caps. And this means, of course, where applicable and where possible. And we have been working on incremental release of new UX designs earlier this year. We have added new features, improvements, performance improvements, and we are now have also on the 25th of September a new FHIR version, which will enable us to make some additional improvements. We'll talk about those later during the demo, but that's why the date of the recommended use in the end of September, because we wanted to benefit from all the new things that come on the FHIR release on the 25th. Then hopefully, let's say already during this last quarter of the year, we will continue exploring our structured data changes. So we may be able to implement some of those in production early next year. And of course, we are striving to move to mandatory use. But now when we talk about strongly recommended use, we should consider it as a kind of pseudo mandatory use. So you should always opt to use the PLM portal web-based form where possible. Only if you cannot use the web-based form, then you can fall back to the interactive PDF. But of course, when we say strongly recommended, it is still not mandatory to use that. And so that's our timelines in summary. And then let's look at what we have done in the latest quarter, so during the summer. So we are using agile methodology in our product development, and our objectives for this quarter, that is from July to end of September, were to make sure that the form will be capable of having two different parallel versions. As you know, the amended variation regulation entered into force from beginning of this year, so 1st of January 25. And as a part of that new amended variation regulation, there is a new classification guideline. The new classification guideline will enter into force from 15th of January next year. So we are enabling you to use the new classification codes for new variations starting from the 15th of January and thereafter, but we will also need to keep live the version of the current classification for any amendments that are needed for ongoing variations. So this was a very important piece of work that we have been doing. And we're hoping that in late October or at the latest in November, you will have these two versions available for you, so you can already start familiarizing yourself with the new amended variation classification. We have also made some amendments into how we use OMS data in the eAF. So one of the main reasons why we are unfortunately able to move to mandatory use is that we are using OMS data through an iris, through an intermediary data layer. And in that data layer, we don't always get the latest OMS changes. So we are now, we have implemented a direct connection to OMS in present and proposed section, where you will be able to, or where you are able to retrieve the latest organization information. We're also looking at making that same change other places where OMS organizational data is used in the application form, so that you would be, we will be able to block some users who we have had to ask in the past to use the interactive PDF because of this limitation. We have also worked really hard on implementing the last remaining UX UI features into the present and proposed section. This is really to improve usability, make the form creation easier, and to support future structured changes. So I will be presenting some of those improvements in the demo today. They are already in production, but some of them are not actually there in the PDF. So we have functionality that is available in the user interface, but it is not reflected yet in the PDF. So as I mentioned, we have the new FHIR release, which also means a new PDF release coming out on the 25th of September. So, but we'll look at the UA part today. And we are also implementing remaining features for the product selection so that the eAF can better handle large applications. We have already implemented one of these improvements, but there are more coming before end of this quarter. So just to emphasize here what this strongly recommended use for all variations means. So we are hoping that from Wednesday, the 29th of September, we will be able to start this strongly recommended use. Unless there is any unexpected event, we will be then informing all applicants that from this day onwards, we would really like to see the PLM portal web-based form being used for all applications. Again, please report any issues, concerns, bugs via the EMA ServiceNow tool, as usual. And here we also included a little note. What does strongly recommended use means? So it means that the web-based form should be used in most cases. So ideally, the interactive PDF should only be used if specific constraints prevent the use of the web-based eAF. But of course, we understand that it takes time to move to the use of the new form, but we are hoping that we will see more and more users moving to the PLM portal eAF. And here, just to give you a very quick update on the statistics. Up to yesterday, we have seen that there has been nearly 4,000 non-cap application forms being created in the PLM portal since we went live in February 2025. So this is it's really nice to see this number going up. Unfortunately, I'm not able to give you a number of how many of those forms have been submitted to the NCAs up to now, because of course they don't come to the EMA, and to retrieve this information from all different NCAs is not so simple, but we are really pleased to see the number ticking up. And up to this week, we have received over 3,000, nearly 3,200 centralized procedure application forms by EMA using the new PLM portal web-based application form. So with the centralized procedure, we are between, let's say, 50 and 70% of usage, and we are in strongly recommended use. So hence why we are now moving to strongly recommended use for non-caps as well, because we know that it will take some time to fully move into the new processes. Then look at the things that we will be especially looking in the demo today. So I will be demonstrating how this form version selection, because of the new variation classification, will happen. So this is not yet in production fully. So you would have seen that there is a kind of default selection there already, but I will show you in practice from a lower testing environment how that works. We will also unfortunately be able to demonstrate most of the production selection improvements later on. So they're coming before end of Q3, but I can already show you one of those. And then, of course, in the present and proposed, I will show you how we are selecting the organization directly from OMS, how you can enlarge either the present side or the proposed side. This is for enhanced and easier editing. We have also removed the ATC code semi-structured button from there because it was causing some issues. And then we'll talk a little bit about the custom ordering. So this is today available in the UI, but it's not yet in the PDF. But I have produced a PDF from a lower environment where I can show you how it actually works. And very quick summary on the known issues then. So as we have reported before, we still have some data quality issues. So we have some corrupted products, we have some duplicate products, and we have some missing products. Numbers are reducing, and we're working very hard with our colleagues from PMS and IRIS who are doing their best to fix any of these product data related issues. And we're also, of course, working very, very closely with colleagues across the agency to address these organizational data issues. But we fully acknowledge that there are still some issues. And we, of course, keep this in mind while we are announcing the strongly recommended use. We know that there are scenarios where we unfortunately still have to ask you to use the interactive PDF. But I think we can move to the next slide. And here's just a summary of how to report any issues. So I won't go into detail with this. It hasn't changed, but please make sure that when you are selecting whether it's an issue or just maybe an improvement suggestion, please make sure that you're selecting the right category. So when it's a PLM portal eAF issue, make sure that you go through the PLM portal. And then if you have an issue with the interactive PDF eAF, which is not in the PLM portal, but from the eSubmissions website, please make sure that you select e-submissions first and then the interactive PDF from there, because we still receive almost if not daily basis, at least on weekly basis, tickets that are selected for the wrong system. So this, of course, can cause delays in response to the tickets. Okay, and we will then go through the navigation, but let's look at the results from our poll. On which section would you like a deep dive in?
Yes, so most people voted for present and proposed. Then we have a good portion for the product selection. Very few for proof of payment. And then we have some other suggestions that maybe after present and proposed and product selection, we can take a look at those if we still have time. Otherwise,
Sure.
This will be very useful input for future sessions.
Absolutely. Indeed. So it always, this kind of feedback really helps us to develop our trainings as well, so that we can really tailor according to your needs. So I guess without any further ado, let's get going with the demo. So I will share my screen. Great. This is now the UAT version. So you don't, of course, most of you don't have access to this. It doesn't matter, because if for any testing purposes, we really strongly recommend that you actually use the production environment. There is nothing in the production environment that would harm or change something. So please feel free for all your testing and your training purposes, feel free to use the production environment. But let's have a look here. So I wanted to show you the new form version selection. So if I select to create a new application form, so I click here. So I'm on the PLM Portal homepage. So here we can, of course, start with the new form from here, or what I just did there. So by default, we have a human form variation selected. Here you can see this new selection where we can choose the form version. So here now, please don't worry about the names. We will change these. So today we have a default form, which means it's today's current classification guideline. And for testing purposes, we simply just named it as future. But we will be amending these so that they will have meaningful names. So I would have to select one of these. So now if I want to start preparing a form for the, let's imagine it's the late December, from 15th of January, the new variation classification list enters into force. So I want to already prepare the form. I would choose the future version, which will have a more meaningful name. So it's basically just the next version of the form, and I will click select. And as usual, I would fill in the friendly name of the form. And I would select the reference MAH. Normally this would be, of course, you will only have available a certain form, certain MAHs anyway, depending on your profile. So you wouldn't need to select this. You would have already presented for you a list of organizations that are available for your profile. So I would choose that, and I would move forward. So it's as simple as that. So you have two different versions. What is really important to note, however, if you have selected one version, you cannot change it after you have created the form. So it's something that is important to bear in mind, that the version cannot be changed. Also, you cannot change the form version when you're cloning. So if you are cloning a form and then we have a new version, you cannot clone into the new version. So we'll have to see if there is a lot of need for such feature or functionality and how technically difficult that would be to do. But at the moment, we have not allowed for cloning or changing the version of the form when you are cloning, because this could cause some issues. But that's as simple as that. I will now move into the actual production version to do the same. So here you can see we already have the form version tab here, but it is defaulted. I cannot change that. So here we will select the MAH. So as I mentioned, you wouldn't normally you would have straight away this kind of view where you are just selecting from the organizations that you have affiliated to your profile. Because I have a special role, that's why I will have to search. I could choose any of the organizations. And we move to the next step. Here we can then add co-authors, so we can invite other colleagues to work with us in the form. I won't be doing that now, but you would simply click to add co-author. Again, you would have colleagues available here from your own organization, or you can add colleagues from outside your own organization if you have, for example, a work sharing application. So here to select a product. So this was one of the topics that was selected for the deep dive. So you click here. So initially, at the moment, how we have this, it opens with this window where you have to click to select the products. One of the improvements, what we are doing from the UX work would be so that the product selection would straight away open in this window, displaying you the grid. So you will save a click. You don't need to say that you want to start selecting products, because naturally that will be the first thing you would like to do anyway. So you can change here how many results you would like to see. So you are always presented with the empty grid first. Even if you have certain products affiliated to your profile, you will still have to start searching them with certain criteria. This is due to performance requirements. So you can change to see up to 500 rows. You can change the column visibility, so you can use different attributes to search products. And then if I just simply click here, I will get a show of 500 products here at one go. But of course, this is not an efficient way to look for products. So normally, if we think of a scenario of an MRP DCP application, for example, the easiest way would be to include the MRP DCP number here and then click search. So for example, if we want to look for any particular number, you would type here, see if it's a real MRP DCP number. As you can see, I will then get results. If I then get too many results, it's still too difficult to find which ones I would like. I can then, for example, search by country. If I filter further, I will only get the entries from that particular country. If I want to have a look at the details of these packages that are included under this particular medicinal product, I can click here. One of the improvements that we have already implemented was to remove a tick box that you couldn't tick here. So it indicated like you could select a particular package here, which is of course not possible. In this level, we are selecting medicinal products. So here you would select either one or all medicinal products as applicable. One important note is that for non-centrally authorized products, when you are selecting products, you are always selecting the whole medicinal products. You cannot select just single packages. For centrally authorized products, you can select just packages. So there's a bit of a difference. So if you're an applicant that has both centrally authorized products and non-centrally authorized products, you will notice that there is a difference how the form works. But for non-centrally authorized products, you always select the whole medicinal product because as per MRP DCP, the variation will always impact the whole medicinal product. So this is as per the agreement with the regulators. So here, if we want to select all the products for this particular MRP DCP number, we can simply click here and we click Save. There is, let's call it a slight limitation added into the system to improve performance. If you are working on a very large work sharing variation that may contain hundreds and hundreds of products, you will have to add these products in batches of 50 products. So you can only in maximum select 50 products at the time. You can repeat the product selection step as many times as you wish, but you cannot add more than 50 products at any one time. So here we now have quite a visible indication that we need to do something. We need for MRP DCP products that have been selected, we must add an MRP DCP number in here. So for example, go here and I can again select all of these. I will include the variation number here. So whatever details I want to add here, I click update and you can see that the MRP variation number is indicated in this column. You can see that there is something perhaps not quite right. We get some percentage marks in here, but when I return to the product selection homepage, the percentages are not there and everything is displayed correctly. So I have now selected only the products from Denmark. I can again go and look at expand to see the details of the products that I have definitely selected right products. If we now realize that we actually did not want to select one of these products, I go back to select products, perhaps slightly illogical when we want to remove, and then I view selected products. So as you can see, this text just changed. So we have view available products or view selected products. So if I want to remove one of the products from here, I will simply untick and I save. Like so. And then this product will be removed from the list of products. And while it's doing that, we kind of lock the editing of the form. So now you can see the product is no longer present here. Just to show you again the selection of maximum of 50 products, just for that you know how it in practice how it works. So here I have 100 entries. So if I click here to select all of these 100 products, I will immediately get the update should not exceed 50 products. So I will have to untick some of these products in order to be able to move forward. So now I could, for example, filter further. And I still have too many products. So then I can so here, unfortunately, this is actually a minor bug that have been reported before. So once I have selected, for example, 100, I'm not able to easily untick all of them. So I'll need to clear filters. This should not. So I will have to, let's move back here. So this is something that is definitely in a need of an improvement. So then when you have selected more than 50 products, you have to, for example, move back to the previous page. And now you can see I can again do my search. And then using filters, I can continue searching. Normally, a click of an enter is sufficient to trigger the search. And then we can, for example, filter by the country or by MRP number, by MA number, the MA holder, and so forth. But normally you wouldn't necessarily have so many different products from different MA holders. So this is, of course, a slightly different situation for me because I have all these different products available for me. And then we can, for example, add further details, so you can always drill down, and the more different filters you use, more dedicated results you get. And then you always need to save if these are the products that you would like to save in your application form, and you can always expand to check that the details are correct. So that's our product selection. I hope that was clear enough. So if you have multiple different, you have a variation that contains multiple different MRPs. So of course you would need to repeat the number association step multiple times to indicate correctly the different MRP numbers for different products. So I can show you here in the form that I have created before how the products are displayed. So here you can see, here I've selected a large number of products, and here you can see this is the number here when I'm affiliating numbers here. When I say associate MRP number, to the numbers from this column are displayed here in the different MRP number sections. So under each specific MRP variation number, you will then have the products listed. We are looking at improving how the products are listed here. Currently, they are not actually in alphabetical order by the member state. They are in alphabetical order by the product name, which perhaps does not make the perfect sense. This form was generated from our test environment, so do not get alarmed that you don't have the pharmaceutical form here. This is a minor issue that is just during the development. It's not here, but in production, of course, you will also have the pharmaceutical form. But we are wanting to change this so that you would get these the list in nice alphabetical order, first by member state, then perhaps the MA holder, and then the product name and number. So it will be easier to find these products and check that you have selected all correct products. Then also one, let's call it a limitation. This is nothing to do with the system. This is how the products are authorized in Denmark. In Denmark, they don't have, like in other countries, the strength and the dosage form are not part of the product name. So in some products, some Danish products, you will see that the dosage form is actually, the pharmaceutical form is actually part of the product name. But for many products, you will simply only see the parts of the full name, which is the product name and the company name. So this is not an error in the system. This is exactly how Denmark authorizes the products. So this is the product name in the SPC, and this is how the products are submitted into XEVMPD. So unfortunately, this then reflects here that the details aren't so let's say, elaborate as they are for the other products. So you may wish to, when you are working on your form and when you are doing the product selection for the Danish products, you may wish to indeed check that the products are correct. So you can do that by expanding in the product selection the details. where you can then see further details of the products. And of course, very, very importantly, to find the correct products that you wish to include into the form, please use the MA number. So we have already liaised with Denmark, and they mentioned that this is the way that they authorize the products. So please use the MA number also to ensure that you are selecting the correct product, because you will not necessarily see the details in here. So I can do another search just to give you an indication how different it may be for the other products. So if our authorization country is Denmark, so you can see for some products you will indeed get the dosage form here as a part, but then for some products you will simply get the product name, and this is according to the authorized SMPC. So you will not have the details, so you must check according to the MA numbers that you are selecting the right products. Okay, so that's about product selection. Of course, if you have any questions and you want more details, please, we can look at that during the Q&A. Then we move to the types of changes. So this we can have a quick look at. So here we are selecting the scopes as per the classification guideline. So this is, remember in the first step when I was showing you the selection of the form version. So when we go into production with the list with the new classification codes, you will see that we have one version that has these current classification codes, and we will have another version that has the new classification codes. Here we, of course, today have the classification codes from the current list, because I've also, we have a default selection of the current version. I will select the code that I want to choose. And for example, here I have only one procedure type available to select. So in this case, it is type 2 variation. So I will select that and I will move further. Here, depending on the scope that you have selected, you will get the option to indicate if you are providing the documentation or if you are meeting the conditions. So you can simply indicate yes or no. If you're not providing the document or if you're not meeting the conditions, you can then enter the reason. So, and you save. And you can repeat this step as many times as needed. You can expand here to see what you have selected. You can go back here to edit the scope. You can clone the scope. So if you have a variation application that contains the same scope multiple times, to save you from typing it and selecting it manually, you simply click here to clone, and the scope is cloned as it is. And if there are any, let's say, differences or further details that you would like to include, here you can now see, because I've cloned, I have 2 of these scopes here, and we can see them here. And if I, for some reason, needed to go and edit one of them, I can select which one I wish to edit. And here, for example, we are providing the document. I click Save. Yes. So you can then simply and easily edit this. And of course, you can delete both of them at one go. You can drill down and delete just one of them here. So this is relatively self-explanatory and easy, so we don't go into further detail with that. Just to point out that if you have selected type 1A or type 1AIN, you will then, of course, need to indicate the implementation date. And there's also a built-in limitation that if you have non-centrally authorized products and centrally authorized products mixed in one single variation, and you are including multiple different procedure types. So you will have, for example, type 1A, and then you have a type 1B. it is not today possible to have a super grouping, which is a type 1A work sharing in a way, mixing caps and naps. So if you need to select a type 1A with the mix of cap and nap products, please select the type 1B variation first or the type 2 variation first. Otherwise, you will get an error saying, this is an impossible selection, remove the product or do something. So it is just the order of selection that you will need to bear in mind when you have this, let's say, a rather exceptional situation of mixing caps and naps with type 1A. I hope that's clear. So then we will move to the procedural information section. The procedural information section is mainly already pre-filled by the previous selections in the product selection and in the procedure selection. So here we can see that the products that I have selected are decentralized and mutual recognition. So they are nationally authorized products. They're for human use. Because I have selected products from different marketing authorization holders, it already indicates this is a work sharing. I've selected a type 2 variation. And because I selected 2 of these scopes, I have grouped regulatory activity. So it indicates this is a grouping. Here, I will need to manually fill in the procedure number. And I will quickly show you. So the variation number that I fill in that field is the variation procedure number that is displayed here on the first page. So this can be different from the numbers that were filled in, that you added in here. So normally you have a high level number that you would then include in here. If we go back to the section, here we then need to also indicate the types of changes, what kind of change I am doing. And here, because I've selected products from multiple different member states, well, actually, in this case, only from Denmark, so I will then select Denmark as a reference member state. Then we have the details of the MAH. For some MAHs, you may wish to select an alternative company name if available. Of course, I have selected in this case as the MAH EMA, so we don't have an alternative company name. But in many companies, you may wish to use this because your registration documentation may, for example, be different from the name that is displayed here. And the name that is displayed here is the OMS preferred name. So in OMS, there is certain, say, conventions that we follow, and we are displaying what we call a preferred name. For some companies, there could be multiple different alternative company names, which may be the name that you always use, or your registration and your, let's say, inspection documentation, for example, is using that other name. So here we have enabled you to select an alternative company name. Here we wish to also make an improvement where you will also be able to select a name directly from OMS, because we know that sometimes here we don't have the correct details. You may have noticed when I was doing the product search that sometimes it said inactive in the product. So this is because the OMS details that we are displaying from that intermediary data layer are not always the latest OMS details. So we are hoping to make that improvement in this quarter. Then fill in the details for the company. And save. If you don't manually click save and you want to move to the next section, you will get a kind of alert saying, please, do you wish to save or reject the changes? Here you will have, if you have more member states, you can select different and add different contact persons for different member states. You can normally also, when you have multiple member states included, you can tick multiple countries here. Maybe you have one contact person for all the Nordics, or maybe you have one contact person per member state. So you are able to select and fill in the details as relevant. Fill in the details. Here my browser already remembers this because I've done this before. So I can just simply select the details from there and we can move forward. And now we get to one of the sections that was indeed selected for the deep dive. So we go to the proposed changes. So here, the proposed changes, so as a part of the new UX design, we have brought more details into the homepage of the proposed changes. So here now I will go to the actually the UAT environment to display some of these things to you, because here we have already the ordering, for example. So I will find the correct home version. And here I can then show you so here, and we go to the proposed changes. This should be the form. So I have already filled in some details into the scope and background for change. Just one maybe very interesting and important point. If you are submitting what we call an annual notification, so basically from the new variation regulation, you need to send annual notification for the first time, also for the EMA, but maybe also for other member states. And you would, we have received quite a few questions. How do I indicate that in the application form? There is no additional tick box. We have discussed with the regulators, and it is actually indicated here in the background for change and justification. So you would include the details here to say this is an annual notification, and you should also indicate that in the application cover letter. But that's just a side detail. So we then save the details what we have entered here in the precise scope section, and then we can enter to add the changes. So if we go here in a form where I didn't enter anything yet, you can see we have this add present and proposed changes. And when I click add changes, and there, because I didn't click the save button, I get a reminder to save. And here now, you remember where I had selected two different scopes. I can select either just one of them or both of them. In this case, I select both of them. And I get to the point where I have add section. So I click here. I can add a section title. There's always also a suggested section title now. So this comes actually, it's the scope that I had selected, but this could be anything. So I'll put here test 1. But this could be anything you would like it to be. It's also possible to rename the sections if you wish. You will enter the details of the change, say test 1, and into the proposed. And now here you will see the improvements what we have done. So initially we only had an ability here to have present and proposed section visible. I can also make that outline, so I will get more space on my screen to work on my present and proposed. I don't need that outline visible the whole time. I can minimize that, and now here I can select to work only on the present section. So as you can see now on my screen, it indicates present, and I get a nice big space here to include present and proposed changes. I can edit these, can use colors, highlights, underline, all different options. I can also bring in images. And there is a possibility to copy and paste edited text from a different document. So for example, a Word document. So you have all these different options here. You can enter tables and so forth. So there is possibility to use these editorial options here. Once I'm finished with my present, I can then move to the proposed. So now you can see I'm in the proposed section. So for example, if I want to make this text red and underlined, and I can do other things here. So I have, for example, this table of information that I wish to include here. And then I can add details. Like so. And I can, of course, always save at any point. I can go and see how they look next to each other. So I can move between this present and proposed the way I wish. There is also then ability to copy information. This, I think, is not yet currently working very well. I can rename this section. If I don't like the name test, what is this? Let's say change it to a real name. We want to call it the section of the SPC or whatever, so we can always rename that. The renaming is also available here, but we have it also here. And then we have also made this ordering of sections possible. So I need to add another section here. And also I'll show you if I'm adding an organization, you can now add organizations in an easier way. So again, you can only show present organization, proposed organization only, or both of them. We can select select the organization for the present and for the proposed. Just to save time, let's do it like that. We can, of course, add details, and then we click done. So then we can see in here now only the proposed is present, is visible. So that's why we don't see the present side here. So now if we change the view here, present and proposed, we can see both. So you can see them next to each other, or you can see just one side. But here, remember always, if you suddenly have, oh my goodness, where have I lost all the other information? You might have changed this. This is something new that we have recently implemented. And we can add as many organizations here as we need to. If we realize we've made a mistake, we can go back to edit, or we can completely delete. We can add more sections. I will now add section 2. As you can see, and we click done. So I get another box here. So this is similar to in the interactive PDF eAF, you would get those multiple text boxes below each other. So this is how that works. So I will put a text here, so you could do as much editing here as you would like. You can add another present and proposed organization here. Let's just quickly select an organization so that I can show you. Maybe we'll select the same proposed organization as we did for the section 1. So now here I have 2 sections. Now I can go and reorder these sections. So if I'm here in section 2, and actually I would like to make this the section 1, I simply move them and they have been ordered. So you can move all these sections. So let's imagine I have 10 sections. I can easily move them around here in the user interface to make them to be wherever I would like them to be. So then I save. And now I will go back to something that I have, let's say, prepared before and exported. So here you can see after the 25th of September, here you can see then that the sections have been ordered. This was a change that I did, but it's equal to this. So here you can see the section 2. We have also removed the empty space that we have today in production here that just says text. It's not useful. So here you can see my free text sections, and here you can see my present and proposed organizations. And here is then the what used to be section 1 because I reordered them. So it's now here as the section 2. And here again, my present and proposed organizations. So if you did do this today in production, unfortunately, you can move the sections in the UI, but in the PDF, they still appear in the order that they have been added. And there is also income issue with the organizations, that all organizations appear underneath each other, not underneath the text section that you have included. But this will come on the 25th. So then when we go back here and we have, let's say we've finished editing our present and proposed section. Just want to quickly show you something here. So now we have also implemented a very easy, and this is one of my, let's say, favorite things of this new UX design. You click here and you can easily, without having to click back to the sections, you can see the sections here. So you have the section 1 and section 2. As you remember, we made the changes, and I changed the order of the section. So the section 2 is first and the section 1 is the second. But here you can see the details. So now in a way, they have been brought into this page so you can have in one quick glance a view of all the present and proposed changes without having to export the form. So I think it's very, very useful to have them here. Again, here, if you wanted to have a bit more detailed look, is everything correct in the proposed? We have the same. You can change to look at just the present, just the proposed, or both present and proposed sections. So this is something new, and I hope it's going to be useful. Of course, if we want to add, so let's say we didn't have these two, or we have further variations, so I don't want to put these all together, I can add further changes as many times as needed. Maybe I have another change that only relates to this scope. I can then proceed and enter the details again here. For example, here I can add further sections. Maybe I want to add a package. So this is a variation to add a new pack size. I can go here. I will need to make sure that the scope is selected, the product packages are there. As I mentioned earlier, because this is an MRP DCP, a non-cap variation, I cannot untick any of these. If this was a centrally authorized product that I have selected, I may have a scope that impacts only certain packages and not other packages. So here, if we wanted to add a package, we would include the details here. We select the parent medicinal product, and then we add new package details. So here, the new MA number. Of course, you would add relevant details here, 10 times 100 milligrams, for example, and then we click done. And we click done. Here we can see actually now the details of the new package that I've added. Everything looks good. We could go back and edit it or delete it if we consider everything is good. And then we can go and say here, new package. and we save. And we go back to the proposed changes, and I realize I'm way over time, but I just wanted to show you this. So again, here we can see what we have done. We have added a new pack size there. We can close that, and we can then move to the additional information section. Because this is a type 2 variation, we get here now the extended data exclusivity, so you can indicate if it's applicable. Say simply it's not applicable, and we save. And then we come to the finalization section. Be finished very soon. So here we can indicate the relevant annexes. Depending on what I select here, some other selections may become available for you. I will do the declaration. I will indicate when the changes are implemented from. I can say from the next production run. I can select a date from a calendar, or I can say on approval, or whatever is the relevant. Here, I will need to do this declaration if there are other changes. Then I need to indicate details about harmonization. Can leave those as no. And then there's the proof of payment section. And again, here there are two parts. If the fees have been prepaid, we can simply indicate it here. And when we click next, here we are looking at improving this so that you wouldn't need to click next before you get to select the member states. In this time, we only had one member state, but you could add as many member states as you have in the selected products in the application. And then, of course, if there is no prepayment, you would use this no relevant fees have been prepaid. And then you will include the details in here. Select the date. If this is a work sharing, then we save. And we can either first just export. We can do a validation, which we always recommend to do. And then we can also, if we have exported, we know everything is perfect, everything is correct, and we click finalize. Finalization triggers this fire export, and then once we have created the finalized form, we will then get the integrity stamp at the end of the form. Here's a very, very important note. When the export is happening, we have noticed this. I think there's potentially some change in behavior, but it's very, very important that once you are finalizing your form, of course, you tick, you download, and then once you have finished your download, please close the window. If you don't close the window, for some reason, the form does not move into your completed tab, but it remains in your drafts. So basically, you will get a finalized form with the integrity stamp, but it remains in your finalized area. So this is something that we are looking at how to address this as soon as possible. But it is important that once you have downloaded, you close, like so. And now when we go back to our application form list, we can see if we go to all, and I will look for form, you can see the form that I have just last modified. And sorry, apologies. So here you can see the form here. that I've just completed it. So it has moved into the completed tab and it's no longer a draft version. Here I've done some testing, and if I don't close the window, it will remain in the drafts tab. But I'm now severely over time, so let's quickly go to the Q&A.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christina. Let me share the screen. No, this is the wrong one. I'm sorry. Give me a second, and I share the Slido page. Here we go. So to all users, please access the Slido with the QR code or by using the code we have in here. We'll proceed answering the questions that has more thumbs up, and we'll address the pending ones after the event. So let's start. Christina, I'll read you the first. Can I please ask how will be signature part works for online eAF, or signature can be added after downloading as PDF? Christina, sorry, you are muted.
Thank you. So I am. So indeed. So you saw I just exported a form. It contains the integrity stamp. An integrity stamp is a digital signature that has been included into the system by the system. It is a kind of assurance for the member states that the form has been generated using EMA's PLM portal system. If you wish to, or if you need to, as per the national requirements, include a signature, what you can do is you can include another digital signature into the form. So you would simply have that PDF open and you can add any qualified digital signature to that. If your company does not have a qualified signature, digital signature tool, so normally you would be including an image of a signature or let's say an Adobe signature, that is not unfortunately possible after including the integrity stamp. So then what you can do, for example, is also to have that form, just simply export it. Once you have exported the form, you don't have the integrity stamp, so it doesn't have that digital signature. So you can add a simple, let's say, Adobe signature or image of a signature. Please save that form as an annex to the application form, and you can then provide that in the same ECTD package, but clearly name it as an annex. So then the regulator gets the same form with the signature, and then they get the one with the integrity stamp.
Thank you very much for this answer. Let's proceed. No, maybe to move it. Okay. Let's proceed with the following question. How can national requirements and application forms be accommodated? For example, IFA requires separate uploads of PDF and XML in their national portal. Is there a way to export the XML from the web eAF?
Yes, there is actually. Maybe I will very quickly share my screen just to show you how to do that. We have confirmed with IFA, they have edited their system to that it is compatible with our form. If I go to a version that is not integrity stamped, actually no, I need to go to a PDF form. Apologies. Let's open a form here without an integrity stamp. So if I enlarge that, so in here we have this little paper clip. Oh no, this is a integrity stamped form. So here, when we go here with the integrity stamp, so here we can see there's an XML in this form. So I can, of course, click to this XML, and I can open the file, or I can save the XML separately. So then you have this XML that can be saved and uploaded, and you can then follow the national instructions. But you can always export this XML from the form should it be necessary. Stop sharing.
Great. Thank you very much, Christina. It helped also seeing it on screen. So that was useful. Let's then proceed with the following question. If including of eAF generated via PLM portal is not changing, are national health authorities obliged to accept this for the ECTD sequence submitted to them? Some agencies are not willing to accept eAF. They prefer national forms.
Good question. So we have been working very closely with the NCAs, and they have confirmed that they are all accepting the form. So it could be that perhaps there are specific procedure types for purely national applications where they are preferring national forms. But if this is the case, I would really, really appreciate if you could send us details of such authorities, and we can then also discuss with them, because this is an EU form and it should be used for all EU procedures. So it would be very, very interesting to be aware of these scenarios where the agencies are not willing to accept the eAF. And also it would be useful to know if it's all eAFs, as in also the interactive PDF eAF, or just the PLM portal eAF where they have indicated this.
Okay. Then that point should be followed up. Now I lost the question, but let's proceed with the following one. The Spanish authorities are denying all variation for manufacturers that aren't entered into the drop-down menu. However, according to the Q&A, it's permitted to manually enter manufacturers that aren't yet registered in the database.
Yes, so in fact, for the proposed, you must use an organization that has been registered in OMS. It is not possible to include manually. In the interactive PDF, you still have the option to include details of proposed and present organization, present and proposed organizations manually for non-cap variations. In the PLM portal web-based form, only the present organization can be manually entered. This is because that sometimes, for example, if the change is something that it changes the name of the organization, you cannot, of course, have available at the same time two different names. So in some cases, you will have the inactive entry that you can select in the present, and then in the proposed, you select the updated entry from OMS. But always in the proposed, you must use details from OMS.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Let's then move to the next question. Does the co-author receive a message that she has been added, and is it possible to modify the message with a request for review for certain section of the eAF?
No, the co-author does not receive an automated message from the system. You would have to liaise with the co-author as you would normally do. So maybe you wish to provide them the details of the variation application number, but there is no automation. So this is something that was discussed when we first started to implement this model of co-authoring. And it was considered that it would be too much, because for some people, they would automatically, if they have a coordinator role, for example, they would receive potentially so many of those messages that it becomes, it's not meaningful anymore. So whether you're adding a co-author from the same organization or a different organization, they don't get an automated message. For co-authors from a different organization, you can send them a message, but you have to tick a tick box.
Thank you very much, Christina, for clarifying this. Moving to the following question. Is it possible, using the web-based version, to still add in the submission a separate annex to the form for present and proposed, or is it mandatory to use the small boxes?
That's a very, very good question. So it depends, of course, what details what is the nature of the change. Sometimes it can, of course, be way more practicable to include an annex. So this is no different in a way from the interactive PDF. Of course, you can write see annex and see annex in the present and proposed boxes. Ideally, we would like to have as much detail included in those, let's call them small boxes. Indeed, especially when we're moving more towards structure changes. So in future, where we want to include actual real structure changes, where you will be editing the details of, let's say you're adding a new manufacturer or you're deleting a manufacturer, then you would have to use the data in the form. Otherwise, it would not be automatically pushed into PMS. However, today, even manufacturers changes there, we would strongly recommend that you should indicate at least the organizations in using the form. But if it's another change, sometimes you may have very, very complex tables of something. Of course, a separate annex can be used, maybe in addition to some details in the present and proposed boxes.
Thank you, Christina. The next question states, how can editorial changes be displayed in the present and proposed format?
So in the present and proposed, you can simply edit it. You can bring in, it depends on where you are copying and pasting the information. But normally I've done quite a bit of testing in the present and proposed fields, and you can bring in text that has been edited in maybe in a Word document. If you're copy pasting it from PDF or from some formats, it doesn't work so well. And then you can, of course, what you can do is copy between the present and proposed fields as well. So you don't always need to do multiple different edits, but it is possible to edit. So there is the editing options as I showed there earlier during the demo.
Thank you. I remember also that the recording will be available, so everyone will be able to see also the previous demo. Next question. Until when will be the old version available?
That's a really, really good question. And actually, today I am not quite able to answer that, but we know that it needs to be available for, let's say, for quite some time, because what I understand that for non-centrally authorized applications, sometimes the evaluation can take a long time. Let's imagine it can take a year or 2 years, and you may have to make updates to the old form. So we will need to really discuss this and have an agreement together with the feedback from the applicants and marketing authorization holders and NCAs. How long do we need to keep the old version available? But what is really, really important to note, that the old version cannot be used for any new variations that would be submitted on the 15th of January or thereafter, because for new variations, you'll have to use the new classification codes. But if you have originally submitted a variation, let's say on the 10th of January, using the old version, of course, any change, any update to that form needs to be done using the old version of the form.
Thank you a lot. Let's move to the following question. Can you select multiple MAHs for one MFP DCP in multiple countries? Example, we have DCP with 8 countries and 5 MAHs.
Absolutely, yes, you can. So maybe I'm not sure if you noticed, but even on the example that I did, it did have different MAHs. They were just in that particular example for one country, but for example, in the PDF that I showed, there were multiple different products for multiple different MAHs from different countries. So this is possible. In order to be able to edit such a form, you will need to be affiliated to all of the MAHs so that you can see the products from those different MAHs. And very important point, you will need to when you start to create a form, you have to select the reference MAH. And in the form, you will only see one MAH, which is the reference MAH. You will not be having details of all the other MAHs. So this is again something that was discussed and agreed with the regulators.
Okay, I think this can be the last question as the time is running out. So let me just ask to Isabella to open maybe in the background the feedback section of the Slido. And let me remind also to all the participants to again join the Slido and please insert your feedback, which is really important for us to improve and understand better how to improve indeed with the support of the eAF users. With this, I'll stop sharing the Slido and go back to the slides for the closing remarks. And I give you the floor, Cristina.
Thank you, Francesco.
Let's move on.
Yes, so that was indeed our live demo, and apologies for having such a short Q&A, but please don't despair. We have some other sessions. So of course, as always, we do these training sessions normally together with some Q&A clinics. So we of course have Q&A clinics already planned. So we have next week, is it this week even? Next Monday, we have a training again, but this is mainly aimed for a centrally authorized product. So we look at slightly different aspects, but a similar training. So you're, of course, all welcome to register for that training. Then we have the quarterly system demo, and we have Q&A clinics coming up. So if your question didn't get answered today, you can also look at our recently published Q&A document. If you don't find the answer there, please do register and join our Q&A clinics. So we have 2 coming up, one in September and one in October, where we will be answering all your questions. And of course, at the training session next week, we also have Q&A at the end of that. And we will try and answer as many of those questions that you've had also online here. So you may wish to check back to Slido and see if a written answer has appeared into your for your question. And with that, I'd like to thank you all very much for participating here today. And thank you for great questions. And of course, thank you for the feedback already beforehand. It's always good to hear feedback. And please do let us know what type of trainings would be useful, what type of sessions would really help you to start using the form. Is there any blockers? What can we do to make it easier and better for you? And with that, I'd like to wish you a great day and a great rest of the week. Thank you.